It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. We know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 359. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. You had that big old yawn before we started. You should have taken a nap.
Not all of us get the privilege to take a nap.
I'd have let you.
Oh, thanks. You're so kind.
You know, I'm not a slave driver. I'd have let you have 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
A little quick cat nap.
So just to be clear, half the time that you had, actually a third of the time you had. So just making sure I understand.
Well, I do 3 times as...
I can't believe you even said that. I cannot believe you just said that.
So yeah. Plus, I'm significantly older. So, I guess we will power through with the napless Crystal and the
After you angered me,
refreshed
Tom. So we expect lots of humor then.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
I feel like I've already brought humor. See, you're laughing already. You're welcome. So, what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Well, we have our earnings call recap, which won't take place until tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll be recording that after this. So anything you hear today may be out of order.
But through the magic of time travel...
We also have lots of Peloton news, including the new partnership, what's going on with sales, and Peloton's newest partnership that they have on Instagram, as well as potentially a little bit of laying off, maybe?
Perhaps.
Maybe something.
Yeah.
We also have several instructors that are in the news, and we have the latest on the newest artist series. And of course, we'll be talking about the newest content that you need to know about. And no visit from Dr. Jen, no visit from Angelo. We're trying to keep it a little bit on the shorter side.
Because of the earnings recap.
Exactly.
We're anticipating that to be long, be a lengthy segment.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn, iHeart, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us while you are there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. It is super helpful and greatly appreciated. You can find us on the Facebook at facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's a great way to stay up to date on breaking news in between episodes, like last week when the Rayburn stuff broke.
Yes.
And late afternoon Thursday. We had already recorded. Not much we could do at that point. Mm-hmm. And you can also watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/theclipout. And Patreon. Don't forget, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/theclipout. And for $5 a month, well, one, you help the show, and that is greatly appreciated.
We appreciate it.
These things cost money. Like, we had the new camera set up for the YouTubes, and we've got the nice mics and the editing and all that stuff that goes into this, plus all the
articles,
the web
the authors get paid for everything.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. So if you have the means and you want to help out, that is certainly appreciated. And what you will get in return is you will get ad-free episodes. If we get them early, you get them early. And also, you will get bonus content. There's a whole other episode recorded every week that's 20 to 25 minutes long of just stories that we didn't have time to get to in the main episode. And it lives over there on Patreon. If you sign up, you get a little special feed, so it'll show up right in your podcast delivery system of choice. You don't have to go to a special website or anything like that. It'll show up like all your other stuff. So it's real simple. Just go over there. There's a tutorial. Anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Peloton stock ticker.
So earnings call happened today, and I guess obviously the major takeaway is Barry McCarthy is stepping down.
Yes, he is.
Uncle Barry is no longer invited to the family reunions.
That is true. And not only will he no longer be CEO/president, but he is also resigning from the board. I feel like that has kind of been missed. And the reason I feel that is important is because part of the conversation, one of the questions that got asked and then answered by the interim CEO was that they made mention that the board decided that Barry was leaving, not so much Barry decided Barry was leaving. At least that's the way I took it, because they were having a conversation, question and answer session about Barry specifically and how he had come into the company during a hard time and how he had been the architecture of all of these changes to make sure that they could get back to positive free cash flow, and that now the board wanted to change gears and focus on a candidate that had growth, that they were going to be the architect of growth. And to me, that felt like, so goodbye, Barry. Yeah,
it feels like they got a benchmark they could point to kind of save face and then be like, and now we're going to do this other thing, where I don't know that that's entirely accurate, but yeah, it's a very it's a fascinating situation.
It is.
And I'm glad I'm not there.
Yeah, it's this feels different than whenever John Foley stepped down. I don't have any like emotional attachment to Barry.
Right. Like, don't hate him.
No,
but
I feel nothing.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, well, we're going to get a new one now.
Yeah. I feel the only thing I feel is just like a little uncertain about where that leaves the brand and where it leaves where everything is standing.
My first thought is, to be a fly on the wall in the Foley house today.
I just feel real strongly there are some conversations being had by all the founders. I feel like they have a group chat and it is hot today.
Yes. Like, ain't so easy, is it?
Yeah.
Foley remained on the board when he stepped down, didn't he? I thought that was one of the things. I don't know that he's there anymore, but like,
I don't think so.
I thought he did.
If he did, it was a very short time frame. But I know. I actually can't remember. I think he stayed on for a little bit, like as they made the change, like it had the transition. But then, he left the board as well.
Gotcha. But yeah, I'm sure there's some Schadenfreude going on. How could there not be?
How could there not be?
I'm
indeed.
Not even trying to disparage him.
No.
But yeah, I kind of wonder, when it comes to finding the next one, who wants it?
I know. Like, they were talking about how they have like an executive search team, and I'm like, who wants this job now?
Yeah.
Who wants to touch this with a 10-foot pole? I wouldn't.
I mean, I guess
I love Peloton. And even if somebody came to me today, not that I would be qualified in any way, shape, or form.
You would say yes, because we would make a bunch of money before they fired you. But
okay, fair. But I really wouldn't want to do it. I would not want to do the job. I would second guess every decision that I made. You need somebody coming into this with fresh eyes and an ego the size of like an entire country, but also they're going to be such an asshole that you like, and that's what you need.
Yeah.
But then when you get somebody that polarizing, they start making changes to everything.
Yeah.
Now the culture is gone. The culture was already gone because of what Barry did. So I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know.
Yeah. It will be fascinating to watch, and it will be interesting to see what the caliber of candidates available are, because I think a lot of people are going to look at it as like, I don't want to do that. I think one of the things that made Barry look at it is that he's towards the end of his career, right? Like, and that it was like, I mean, he had kind of already retired, hadn't he? And he came out of retirement to do this. And so it was just like,
and he got paid real well.
Oh, for sure. And then a lot of it's stock options that are never going to turn into anything, but he did okay. But there wasn't the same kind of pressure on like, how will this affect the rest of your career? Now, that being said, the bar is pretty low for what success would look like now.
I will also say that I have to give Barry credit, regardless of whether or not you agree with the choices he made or don't.
Yeah.
He did put his heart and soul into it. I mean, he really did. He put a lot of time and effort into it. I know there's a lot of people that are like, thank God he's out of there.
I can't help but notice that for the most part, the people that say, oh, he shouldn't have done that, they say that over and over again, but they never have the next part of the sentence, which is, here's what he should be doing. Like, I don't hear anyone saying this is what Peloton should be doing.
Well,
or
I heard a lot of that today.
Yeah, but it seems to me like it's always stuff like, well, they need to make more money.
Well, they need to, everyone's
well, no
saying at this point, they need to go back to their roots. I do agree with that to some degree, but I mean,
but what does that mean from a business sense?
I don't know, because what they really mean is the culture. That's what they mean, and I don't know that you can.
You can't have millions of users and have the culture that it had in 2017.
No, but I do miss it. I do
for sure. But I don't know how you get there with this many people.
I don't know. But I feel like we also need to talk about the fact that not only has Barry stepped down, but they also announced that they were completely doing a restructure and that they're going to cut out $200 million in cost. And that means 400 people are losing their jobs, most of which is going to be immediate. And later, in just a few minutes after this, you're going to hear me talk about the fact that the entire UK delivery team is one of the they're going to be cut. And so I had said, thinking, oh God, I hope this isn't something bigger. Turns out it was something bigger.
Yes.
So this is a huge part of it. This is always the harder part for me, because this is like the real person.
Right.
Barry McCarthy is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
John Foley was just fine.
Right. Barry McCarthy's not going home from the office today with a box full of books and a fern, wondering how he's going to make his mortgage payment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I worry about the people who will be affected, that it does matter. And just like whenever they had the big cut where it was like Black Friday up in this bitch, where it was just like everybody, like that was a massive restructuring.
Right.
And it was really sad. And this is sad too. And I didn't really feel like they spent enough time talking about that. They glossed over it and they kept calling it a restructuring program, like it was something that was happy.
Right.
And they did say words that were kind and like, these are difficult decisions and stuff like that. But because it was so scripted, it came off as not flip. It was not that dramatic, but I did not feel like the people being affected like this got their due, and they did not talk about who was getting cut.
Yeah.
Like the delivery team in the UK did not get mentioned, for example.
Right.
That bothers me.
Yeah.
Like you need to talk about where these cuts were, in my opinion, anyway, because they're so nameless now. We don't even know where the cuts are happening.
I think that's just...
I know. It's cold and corporate, right?
Yeah. Well,
like that's the thing.
Because if you think about it, when this is over, there's a Q&A session where
Not one person asked.
The investors never ask about that because they don't care.
They don't care.
It's just numbers.
Yeah. If going through all this, learning about Peloton has taught me one thing, it's to not like investors. That's what it's taught me. I do not like the stock market. I do not like the way that these people act. And it was really funny because right after the call, I'm skipping all around here, but right after the call, the stock market actually went up, but then it plummeted after that. Like about 10 minutes after that, it plummeted, reached all-time lows yet again. I mean, if we could not be lower, we could barely go lower. There's nowhere else to go. So I have to go check and see where we are right now. So part of the restructuring is also going to be that they're going to be reducing expenses. So half of the changes are coming from savings of those people leaving. They're cutting those salaries, but also half of it is coming from, they're going to just be doing savings in a bunch of areas. Like they're going to be cutting back in marketing. They're going to be cutting back in R&D. They're going to be cutting back in all these places. And so that was a little disconcerting because it felt like the questions were all over the place today, and the answers, they felt like they were kind of dancing around things. Like, we're going to cut back in marketing. And then, so the questions were like, well, how are you going to bring on new people if you're cutting back in marketing?
Right.
And then they were like, whoa, we're not cutting back in marketing that much. We're only cutting back a little bit. And like, we're going to be really, really careful about how we spend those marketing dollars.
Man, I see this with concerts all the time where a show doesn't do what they think they're going to do, or a sports team doesn't do what they think they're going to do, and their first thing is like, let's cut marketing. Marketing's
always the first thing to go.
And I'm like, so the problem is you haven't invited enough people to the show? Like, is that the problem?
And I know Peloton will not be happy with me saying this, should they ever listen. But I mean, here's a question. What happened to Ben?
Yeah.
And then I don't think he ever got replaced. And he left, but now I'm like, was that part of this? It was just quiet. Yeah. And then...
Or did he see the writing on the wall?
I don't know. Very possible.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get more well-connected than somebody knowing all of the communications, right? But then the fact that they haven't replaced his role just makes you raise an eyebrow. Like,
For sure.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And the stock market is no longer as low as it was, but it's like hovering around 277 a share. So...
Woof.
Yeah, woof indeed.
Yeah.
Our new interim co-leaders are Karen Boone and Chris Bruzzo, both of which are board members. Karen Boone's been with the board since 2022. She was previously the president and CFO of Restoration Hardware. She also has quite a few things on her resume. Things that she's been doing in addition to serving on Peloton's board are serving on the board of directors for Sonos, Rivian Automotive, and several private companies, including Tory Burch, Cliff Bar, and Collective Health. So somehow she also has time to be the president, CEO, co-person, but sure.
Okay.
And then Chris Bruzzo, he has been on the board since December of 2023. And he was most recently, the executive vice president and chief experience officer of Electronic Arts. And then that means with these two moving into the co-leader position in the interim, that means that Jay Hogue will be the interim board president. He's also been on the board for a while. So those are all those changes. And then, the big positive thing that came from this call was this was the first quarter that they reported on that had positive free cash flow, which is what Barry's been working on for 2 years. Can you believe it's been 2 years that Barry's been there? We've been doing this a long time.
We have.
We have seen some things.
We have.
So that means that after 13 quarters not having positive free cash flow, they ended this quarter with positive free cash flow. And that means $895 million of unrestricted cash and cash equivalents. They feel that this is super important because it is going to be a key factor in Peloton renegotiating their debt. Because they have a very big loan that we've talked about before that's coming due this year. So they needed to be able to refinance that debt. And this free cash flow was a big factor in that. Like,
Gotcha.
If they don't get there, they're not going to get good debt terms. And if they don't have good debt terms, well, that's a problem.
For sure.
Yeah. They also talked about that the company has seen a reduction in paid app subscription. I thought that was interesting. They also said that they did not see the growth in the business partnership area that they had hoped for.
So the drop in app subscriptions, do you think that's because they went to this new model and a lot of people were mad and just didn't sign back up?
I think that they counted on the free app bringing in a lot of people, and it did not. I think they were counting on that, and that's why they changed that model. But I do think that there were a lot of people that they thought that would stick around, that after their legacy app pricing ended, did not stick around. However, they also talked about that in spite of all that, they still made more money on apps than they thought they would, because more people are signing up for the app 1 tier than they expected.
So a drop in raw subscriptions, but the people that are there are paying a little more. So at the end of the day, the cash is higher.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And then going back to where they're going to be saving money, they talked about that the marketing strategy is going to be a big thing that's going to change. Like they're going to focus on the effectiveness of how they spend those dollars. So for example, that, they send out the marketing and it's kind of directed at anybody who might want to be part of Peloton. Well, they're going to be looking at a specific type of person and really try to go after that person,
Gotcha.
Whatever that is.
Whoever they define is that.
Yes. And that they wanted to optimize it. Like it's all about optimization. So it's not that they're not going to be spending money on marketing. It's that they're going to be more specific and intentional with that. And that also is going to apply to the markets that are overseas, the other countries. They are not pulling out of those markets, but they are changing how they're spending it. And even though they didn't say it on the call, obviously delivery was a part of that.
Yeah.
But there's going to be other changes as well, like how they're marketing to those people. They're going to be using the local resources. So I just thought that was very interesting that they didn't talk, like they had this opportunity to say we're saving money by cutting delivery drivers and they didn't say it. So why didn't they say it? Like it feels like there's more to it. There's always more. It's more about what they didn't say than what they did say.
For sure. And the two people on this call,
yeah,
I hope they got some sort of bonus for doing that.
I mean, they're on the board, so.
Because that was just an ugly position to be in. But like, I also wonder if some of it is like they don't feel like they can answer the questions because they don't know how it's going to fit the long-term strategy of whoever comes next.
True. Well, hopefully they don't have a new strategy. Hopefully the strategy remains and they hire a person that wants to do that strategy. Like that's how it should work.
Yeah, but if you don't like where you're currently at, then your strategy isn't working.
Fair.
So, like, why would you want to continue the strategy if it got you to a stock price of $2.75?
That's fair.
Like, what's the point of getting rid of Barry if you're just going to keep doing the same thing? So I get that it has to be really difficult to answer some of those questions because you don't know if you're creating a potential landmine for whoever comes next.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. They're also focusing on the tread and the tread plus. Peloton wants to be known for its tread, not just its bikes. And, I saw some real morons posting about that everybody knows that Peloton does bikes and treads, but I completely disagree with that. At least anybody that I talk to, if they're in the Peloton community, duh, they know that.
For sure.
But I'm talking about outside of the Peloton community. When you say Peloton, they think bike.
People use Peloton and bike interchangeably.
They do. And so I completely disagree with that. And I definitely think that they need to. They said that the market segment that they are going after is 2 times for the tread, and the tread plus is 2 times the size of the bike, and that the bike continues to outperform what they think it's going to. So I do think they need to do that. They said that this is an area where when you talk about marketing, they're going to be educating the consumer on what Peloton can do that's different than what other people can do. And one of the examples they gave was this brand new partnership with the New York Roadrunners and how they have the New York City marathon classes, and that you can train on the course when it auto inclines just like the course does.
Yeah.
Like that's Peloton feels that nobody else has done that. I don't know that that's true. I feel like Nordic Trek did that.
Right.
And they did it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but I will say I don't know that they're using that. Nordic Trek was ever using that in the sense of training. It was more of like a marketing, like this is like a stunt we did. Stunt sounds ruder than I mean it to be. But we will see.
I think the problem they have in the tread market is, yes, it's very much larger, but it's also mature in a way that the bike market wasn't when they started. So there were lots of people who had never thought about buying a bike that decided to buy a bike, right? And with the tread market, yes, there are lots of people who have treads, but the problem is those people have treads, right? And I mean non-Peloton treadmills. And so they had kind of created a market that wanted a Peloton bike. But when it comes to from a tread standpoint, now you're waiting for someone to decide it's time to get a new tread in a lot of cases. A lot of people, I think there are a lot of Peloton bike owners who want a tread, but they already have one. And so they're like, well, when this one finally shits the bed, I'll swap it out for a Peloton tread. But until then, why would I incur that expense?
I totally agree with that. And they did mention, by the way, that tread sales are still skewed toward existing members, which makes sense. I've already talked about the international market, already talked about the change in headcount that they're doing. I do want to mention that they are going to continue to close showrooms. So, go visit your showrooms while you can. Also, I just want to mention in regards to the showrooms, I kind of have to wonder between that, the cost cutting, everything else. I suspect that means we will not be having homecoming / whatever they called it last year, whatever it was.
I don't even remember.
Peloton on tour.
There we go.
Yeah. So I don't know. Could be wrong because they did that later in the year, but they had already announced it last year around this time. Yeah. So they had announced something was coming. They didn't say what the details were.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see on that. And I think, that's the major points that were covered this morning. In general, I don't feel great about this. I just want people to know that, I am usually the person that's like the cheerleader. I don't feel great about this at all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everyone needs to, the sky is falling and we all need to run for cover. I'm not saying that either. I feel like the company's a little lost right now. And I feel like despite the fact that I didn't have a strong connection to Barry, he had a vision and he was very set on that. And I hope that this change they'll be able to continue down that direction. And it scares me when you say things like, they don't know what the next guy is going to do or the next gal is going to do. Yeah. And that makes me very, very nervous. But all of this makes me nervous. Out of all the times I've been kind of this is, I'm left with the most unsettled feeling that I've had since John Foley left.
Yeah. And it makes sense. But they're definitely in flux. It will be very interesting to see how this plays out.
It will. Sorry, we don't have more chipper take on it. And I get, again, though, I will say, there's no need to panic here. Worst case scenario, they will get bought out.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're going to close their doors.
It's too established of a brand to just disappear from the landscape at this point.
Yeah.
It's got too much value.
Yeah. Oh, I also need to mention that all of the classes that had been scheduled today all got flipped to Encore this morning. Really freaked people out.
I bet.
But I suspect because after 5 p.m. they're back on live, I suspect that was because they wanted to give people a minute to absorb the information. Their colleagues are gone, there's people they worked with, they need a second. And also probably they don't want to answer people's questions. I mean, because there's going to be a lot of them. But I also think that must have been a very difficult decision given that those were live classes with members in them.
Oof. I didn't think about that aspect. Yeah, that's pretty shitty. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And especially a lot of people might have, built a trip around it.
Which is why I say never do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That's why. This is an extreme example.
Yeah. But then to have it pulled out from under you because of this
is a double whammy.
I mean, if the CEO of Coke steps down, I can still go buy a Coke today.
Well, you could still take a Peloton class.
Yeah.
You just you can't necessarily visit the place where they make the Coke, though.
Yeah. I guess. So, anyway, there's your earnings call. So we will now return you to your regularly scheduled clip out already in progress.
Peloton in the news.
Before we dig into the In the News Peloton segment of the show, you forgot to call out bingo.
Don't you put that on me. Don't you. I refuse to accept the blame, but I will give everyone the bingo, and that is...
It's Marcel Dinkin.
It's Marcel Dinkins. You didn't do any kind of lead up to it. There was no drum roll. It's just Marcel.
I was just trying to get to it before you did.
I know.
I was trying to steal your thunder.
Thunder stolen.
If you need your thunder, it's over here with me.
Well, you did have a lot of sleep to steal my thunder.
I am in full possession of your thunder until the next time you have Mexican. So, Peloton and Hyatt have forged a new partnership.
Isn't that awesome? Okay, so if you go back in the day, there was Hilton. there have been other partnerships. Weston.
Yes.
And now
Weston was the first one, wasn't it?
I believe so.
And it was, yeah.
Yeah. And now Peloton and Hyatt have forged new partnership. So you're going to be seeing brand new bikes, at least one in 800 hotels across the different countries that exist, that the both companies exist in. So you're going to see it in Australia, you're going to see it in Austria, Germany, the UK, and of course in the US. And then in addition to that, later on, it sounds like some of them are going to be getting a Peloton row as well.
Oh.
I think that is our first gym setting row that we have seen.
Yeah.
So
have we ever seen treads either out there?
I've seen a few. I don't know how much of that is part of like the corporate piece of it that Peloton does, where they like sell things, not corporate, I said that wrong, commercial.
Right. What used to be pre-core.
Yeah. Or if it is like people buying a treadmill and putting it in there. I don't know.
Gotcha.
And it's never been a Tread Plus that I know of. It's always been...
Which is interesting, because you would think if you're going to put it in a setting for the public, you would get the sturdier one.
I would. Although there just aren't as many available because of how they got recalled, and then, you know...
That's true. There was that long period of time where
they weren't available. Yeah. So that's my thought.
Although, on the flip side of that
okay,
most of those public setting gyms kind of have like signs that say no unsupervised children.
Well, yeah. I still don't think, I mean, they couldn't have bought them during that time frame. They weren't available. That's the point. They still weren't there. But the other thing is, this is also new in this particular partnership. If you use Peloton, then you get loyalty points at Hyatt. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like.
What does that look like?
We don't know.
Oh.
They haven't announced that piece of it yet. We know at the very least that there's going to be some kind of 60-day free trial for the Peloton app if you are a member. And then we know that I said all of them are going to have at least a piece of equipment, but it's 400 participating hotels are going to have a curated selection of non-equipment Peloton classes on in-room TVs. So like you would be able to access the Peloton app through the television. That's in addition to the equipment.
Yeah.
And then they're also going to, they say that corporate meeting and conference attendees are going to engage with unique sets of non-equipment Peloton-based classes designed to inject energy and vitality into the corporate event experience.
Oh.
That sounds very interesting.
Sounds like a lot of buzzwords. I hope there's some synergy.
I'm sure there will be synergy. Synergy will be had. And it also says that the benefits of this partnership extend to Hyatt colleagues in qualifying countries, offering them access to the Peloton App One and discounts on the Peloton hardware. So more to come, but that's how they're starting things off, which is a pretty big bang.
I think for me, the biggest piece of information there is the inclusion, at least in some locations, of a row.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, Foley used to talk forever about how when they were in these hotel gyms, that would sell bikes like crazy because people would try one and then they'd be like, oh my God, I love this. I need this in my house.
Yeah.
And so if you already have people going down to the gym who love Peloton, and then there's like, oh, there's a row right here.
Now they can try it.
Let me try this row. And then they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I think that could really goose the Peloton row.
I would agree. And then the other aspect, just to add on to that, is, they've steadily decreased the amount of stores that Peloton is available in. So that gives them another place to display and try and have people, check it out, to your point.
Absolutely.
So, very cool. I think this whole thing is great news. And of course, nothing changed in the stock market. And, the earnings call comes out tomorrow and then it will tank. I mean, what are we going to be down to $1 by the end of the day tomorrow? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But, it's crazy to me that this did not improve the stock market. Like, what do you people want?
I don't know what people want to see.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just saw some very crabby posts. I don't want to call anybody out, but there's some people trying to get clicks. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, in an effort to drive the stock price sky high, there are a new sale going on.
There is, and it's not just on the bike; it's on the row as well.
Okay.
And I think it's on the tread too. The tread also. It's so it looks like it's $300 off of the tread package, and it's $400 off of the bike or the row. So that's interesting. I want to check the Tread Plus while we're here. Yeah, $700 off of select packages on the Tread Plus. So lots of great sales. They all end May 14th. I've had several people ask me, hey, do you think this is the Mother's Day sale that they always have? Or do you think we're still going to see additional sales? I don't know. My interpretation of this based on timing was this is the Mother's Day sale. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so close at this point. It seems odd that this would wrap up and then they'd roll out another one tied to Mother's Day.
Agreed.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
But if you don't want to shell out money for at least for a tread, you can register to win one.
Yeah, you totally can. And so you probably have heard of the Slow AF Run Club. If you haven't, you need to because it's amazing. There is a gentleman named Martinus Evans, and on Instagram, he's also known as 300 Pounds and Running.
Okay.
And he's come out with a book, and he's been all over the place in the news. We've talked about him on the show before, but he teamed up with Peloton to give away a Tread Plus. So super easy. Anybody can be part of this, except for Alaska and Hawaii. So I should say anybody in the 48 contiguous states who are 18 and older. If you have never been subscribed to Peloton's marketing emails, now is your chance.
Oh, okay.
And that's all you got to do.
That's interesting that it's only for new people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
It is. It is. And the sweepstakes will close on May 25th. So they did do one of these last year, and then I never saw who won, but presumably they actually did it.
I feel pretty confident they did.
I know.
Someone would have yelled at them by now.
I'm sure. I was just being
And
silly.
I guess it's also probably a fairly safe bet that anyone listening to this is not eligible to enter that contest.
No, but Nikki, Helper B. Nikki wrote this article, and I felt like she had a very helpful tip. If you're already subscribed, pass along the word to a friend.
Maybe your spouse isn't.
Yeah, they might, and they might
or
share
one
with
of your
you.
Kids.
Exactly.
Or a bullshit Gmail account that you went and created.
Whoops.
When I was a kid, a million years ago.
You didn't have a bullshit Gmail account because they did not exist when you were a kid.
Exactly. But when I was a kid, I would win radio contests all the time, the Caller 10.
Yes.
And I honestly have no idea how many I used to keep track. And
of course you did.
I lost count at around 50.
Good God.
And I kept winning them. And so
Were you a prize pick?
No. Hang on. As a former promotions director of a radio station and frequent winner of radio contests, this is how I define prize pig.
Okay.
A prize pig is someone who doesn't listen but goes to the remotes and just of any station they can find to get the free stuff.
Okay.
I was winning contests that required me to listen to their radio station, which is what they want.
And that's what you did.
And that's what I did.
Okay, so a little defensive.
Yes.
But not a prize pig.
Because I can't stand the prize pigs having worked in radio.
No.
But if we would, like when I worked in radio, we would have frequent winners, and sometimes the jocks would get frustrated, and I'd be like, hey, they're listening.
Right.
Like, this is what you want. When they just show up to the remote and stare at you until you give them a pass to see Godzilla, like, that's not... Those people aren't actually listeners because they're going to leave your station and remote
go to the next one.
Go to another from a totally different format. They don't even care, right? And but if they're listening and calling in, the only way they can enter that contest is by listening. So anyway, I won a bunch.
Okay.
I won a bunch.
Okay, but not a prize pig.
No. So, but the rules were you couldn't win twice within 30 days.
So that's why you tracked them.
So
it's kind of like a cycle.
So, yes, it was my period. It was my menstrual cycle. So I had a fake name that I used.
Oh, Tom.
to win the contest.
I am now questioning your integrity.
If I was within, I was still caller 12.
Yeah.
I dialed in just like I was really fast. I was actually faster at dialing physically than I was at than the redial button was.
Oh, I was too.
Yeah.
I can't even pretend that I did it as many times as you, but
Yeah.
I could do that.
And so I had a fake name,
What was your fake name?
Frank Lefton. That was my fake name.
Why?
I just went through the phone book and pulled out a fake name.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
plopped it open and I was like, pointed, and I was like, that looks good.
Well, if you ever manage to get on Peloton, now we know your leaderboard name.
So, and then my parents owned a business because
Right.
I didn't want to give them the same phone number,
Right.
Because I didn't know how they tracked it,
Right.
And I mean, I'm not a nerd.
You could have
I don't know
gotten found out.
I know, it would have been quite the scandal.
It would have.
And so I would, I would use their business had multiple lines.
Sure.
And so I used one of the lines.
One of the rolling lines.
One of the rolling lines because the number wouldn't match up to the business. and that was the number. They never called you back, but they wanted a phone number just in case.
Sure.
So I gave them that phone number. And so that worked really well as long as I was under 16.
Okay.
Because when I showed up, they would be like, we need to see ID. And
But
I'd
you
be
didn't
like,
have it because you
I'd
were
be
under
like,
16.
I'm 14. I'm just a little guy.
Okay, Brian.
I don't have an ID.
Oh, no.
And then they'd be like, oh, that makes sense. And then they'd be like, what's your address? What's your number? And I'd give them that. And they'd be like, okay. And they'd give me my tickets to see Eddie and the Cruisers.
So what happened when you turned 16?
I wasn't winning as much by then. So it
Oh.
wasn't as big of a deal.
Did you have other hobbies at some point? I'm hoping.
D&D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It tracks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all making sense.
Yeah. I'm so old. I won free tickets to see Stroker Ace.
What is that?
It's a Burt Reynolds, Lonnie Anderson movie.
Oh,
It's bad.
okay.
It's really bad.
Really bad.
And I won tickets to see Sheena, Queen of the Jungle,
Wow.
which, wow, is right. Because I was like 12 and it was one of the rare PG movies with boobs.
Oh, my.
So at 12,
You got to see Sheena boobs?
that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand
Yeah,
that.
that was a big deal.
Okay.
I mean, I still remember it to this day.
Okay, calm down.
Yeah,
Are you going to be
I'm
able
just-
to finish this podcast?
I might need to take a minute. Through the magic of editing, we'll pick back up momentarily. So anyway, that was one hell of a tangent.
Wow, it was.
So this post was spotted in a group that will remain nameless because
Yeah.
we don't want to call anybody out.
Right.
But someone was talking about the fact that they had heard that Peloton UK delivery drivers were given notice.
Yeah.
Made redundant.
And in 6 weeks, they would no longer be needed. And so this makes sense when you think about the fact that they kind of did the same thing in the U.S. I'm hopeful that the reason behind it is that they were able to change up their logistics,
Right.
and that was why. But I have to say the timing with the earnings call and everything, and I know that we're coming up upon the we have to make money by the end of this, we have to be at a certain point.
Right.
It just doesn't give you a real warm fuzzy
Yeah.
feeling either. So.
But I mean, they would almost have to have partnered with a third party, right? I mean, they can't
Well,
just
of course
stop delivering bikes. They
Of
would,
course, but why didn't they do that from day one?
Right.
Why? So is this something that was new and is beneficial, or is it just because they already had the third parties, but now this is going to slow things down? Is there more to it?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just not really sure about that.
Well, we will keep an eye on that and see what's up.
We will. I mean, there still are Peloton delivery people within the United States. It's just been pared down
Right.
dramatically compared to what it was.
Do you know where they're kind of focused?
In the UK?
No, in the ones who are left in the U.S.
I don't, but my interpretation has been that it's near their warehouses. So like ones that are close to the warehouses and then like where they still have stores. For example, there are no longer delivery drivers in Missouri.
Right.
Because we don't have any stores in Missouri.
Right.
So that would not make sense for them to be there.
Gotcha.
So
coming up after this, we're going to do Instructors in the News. We're going to talk about the exiting of Ross Rayburn. So sit tight.
Instructors in the News.
So it was announced last week after we recorded that week's episode that Ross Rayburn will be leaving Peloton.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he did word it very specifically that he was taking a break from teaching. He left it open that there would still be on demand, potentially guest appearances. But the wording that I received from Peloton directly was that he was leaving Peloton. And I only say that because I know some people kind of hung on to a little bit of hope that he wasn't really leaving.
Yeah, that it was like a sabbatical.
Yeah, but I don't, that was not my interpretation from the communication that I was given. But gosh, this one hurts, you know?
Yeah.
He's just such a good guy. I get it though. Like he talked about that, you know, finishing his book this year and publishing it, it's really opened up a lot of opportunities between that and like that anything that he wants to do to, let's say, have another book, which, you know, could happen.
Right.
And things like that. I could totally see that that's going to give him a lot of different opportunities than he could do while he was at Peloton.
Yeah.
So
is this the first instructor to leave who, this might be too gossipy for you to answer, who hasn't burned their bridge on the way out the door?
No, Chase Tucker. Chase Tucker.
Chase Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are other instructors that have not burned the bridge when they left because they still got to have a class and say goodbye, unlike some instructors. But there are also, I don't want to name any names, but, you know, Peloton is very kind in how they allow these instructors to leave, even when they are asked to leave.
Right.
With one glaring exception. And
we will talk about on this week's Patreon episode.
Sure will.
Yeah.
Well, okay, two glaring exceptions. And they usually get a moment to like say goodbye to the community in their own way.
Right.
And to also develop the narrative in their own way. And so the instructors that have left have largely done that even when they've been asked to leave.
Gotcha.
So
will you tell people on the Patreon who burned their bridges?
I don't know. I might need a drink or two. That feels more like a meetup conversation.
Yeah. Well, while we're having you talk about awkward topics, how about getting us up to speed on why Jen Sherman's ride from this weekend isn't available on demand?
Okay, well, just to be clear, she had two rides this weekend. This is the 45-minute ride on Sunday morning.
Okay.
Well, because she was preparing for Mother's Day and she was having her son in the studio and she was really needed to be focused on being a mom.
Yeah.
Because apparently her dear son, Evan, was there and Evan had a little too much to drink. And I don't know if all of you out there have ever tried to take a really hard spin class after drinking very heavily the night before. It doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Your body rejects it.
Yes,
and when I say
like a monkey kidney.
Yeah. And so, you know, there were about 10 minutes left in class and his body rejected
Gotcha.
the alcohol from the night before. And it was a little disruptive. And I'm assuming that it will never be up given that it's been almost a week and it's not up. I don't see that
tracks.
But Jen Sherman, I did not take the class, but by all accounts, she was wonderful with it. She was very torn between hopping off of her bike and taking care of her child and continuing her ride. And so she was saying things like, "Are you okay? Are you all right over there?" And then at one point she like threw him a towel, for example. And so
it sounds like she probably needed to throw the person next to him a towel.
I did hear reports of splatter. Yeah. And sadly, the person who got splattered did not get like a free class or anything.
Guys, little new leggings.
Yeah.
Something.
Although I don't know that she was wearing leggings, to be honest, because it gets real hot in those studios. She's a shorts wearing gal, so I could see that I could envision that she might be in shorts.
Gotcha.
Unlike myself, I'm like almost always in the leggings.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she really had to struggle between her duties as a mom and a duty between like still doing the class. But she did.
Yeah.
And Evan was very embarrassed, and he took to the JSS tribe.
I saw the post. Yeah.
He was
I
just
felt
like,
bad for the guy.
I'm
laughing
sorry.
because it's a funny story, but I'm honestly not. I think most people over a certain age have had moments like this.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite this high profile.
Right.
But
that's the thing.
But the people that were trying to shame the dude, like, don't be a dick. Like almost everyone has had a moment like that.
No, I mean it's like this will be a story that they tell forever in the Sherman household.
For sure.
I mean, this will go down. Like, remember that time?
Right.
Poor Evan. I mean, I'm sure he was so embarrassed, and Jen Sherman, I'm sure, was embarrassed, but also, her first thing was like, is my kid okay?
For sure.
And then, of course, taking care of the class. So I thought with
In solidarity, do you want to share a throwing up story?
I do have a good one.
Okay, in solidarity with Evan, let's both share our embarrassing throwing up stories.
Okay, so full disclosure, the company that I worked with often had excursions where there was a lot of drinking. So I was in the process of going through a divorce, and I was definitely... I had never experienced singlehood in the normal age range that people do.
Right.
I had been in that
you
relationship.
Met your husband when you were very young.
Yeah. So I was definitely down to party at this time in my life. And we went to a Cardinals game, whole company. And we were in one of the suites where they give you everything for free.
Yeah.
And I took advantage. It was really hot that day. And on the way back to the shop, I definitely threw up in the car.
Oof.
Next to my boss and the corporate manager.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was, you know what? And to their credit, they were just like,
hey, it happens.
Yeah, that's definitely... Yeah, been there. That's how they were about it. And that was very gracious of them. Very gracious.
Which is why we're being gracious.
Absolutely. As you should. Everyone should be.
For sure.
Who hasn't had a moment like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yours.
I've never done that. That's awful.
I've heard the hurricane story.
But that wasn't, the hurricane story was just what they told us when we were in New Orleans. That wasn't me. So my version of this was when I was in radio, I was doing a remote at a club called the Oz.
Oh, yeah.
And it was basically like a legalized rave. The club didn't even open until midnight, and it was on a Sunday. So I was there from midnight to 2 doing a live broadcast. And like, oh my God, they just kept shoving drinks down my throat. I had never done it before. Hosted the live broadcast.
Yeah.
And they just kept bringing me drinks, and they were bringing me like jet fuel. Their thing at the time that they were into was Grand Marnier, which is like drinking lighter fluid. Like it literally like singes your throat as it goes down. And I remember afterwards we went to an IHOP. And I was like, I don't feel good. And I just laid down on the IHOP sideways on the bench at the table we were at. And then I had ordered food, and then I just threw up under the table. And then I popped up, and I was like, oh, my food's here. And then when we left, it was like, and keep in mind, this would have been like 1998.
Yeah.
So I left like a $30 tip.
As you should.
And went on about my day. So we're sorry if everyone's disgusted by this, but like I said, I think most people, if they're honest with themselves, have probably had a moment like that in their youth or young adulthood. So,
I have to agree.
So don't feel bad, Evan. Just don't make it a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the real secret.
You get one pass.
Right. Those are funny stories as long as they're not plural.
Right.
Right? Like as long as it's a thing that happened.
If it's like once a month, then it becomes a whole different conversation.
Now we need to have a talk.
Right.
You're going to get pulled into a room and talk to a lot of family members all at once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Assal has announced an in-person class at PSL.
Yeah, coming up at London Calling, she's going to have an in-person strength class. And she said it was her debut. I did not realize she had not had an in-person class this whole time. But I guess it just hasn't worked out. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Olivia Amato had a funny Instagram post. I actually watched it. I know a lot of times I don't watch the things that...
A lot of
like
times
that.
I don't either. And like I'll see things and if it doesn't, I'm the worst. If it doesn't capture me in like 0.25 of a second, I'm gone.
That's how the algorithm works, man.
But the look on her face got me.
So Puma had her draw the Puma logo
Without looking.
from memory. Yeah. and it was pretty rough. It was better than I'd have done, but I don't get
She
paid
also
by Puma.
looked. I don't know if you saw that.
I did
halfway
see her.
through. She was like,
and they're like, no. And then my favorite part was when they like put up a screen grab of their Instagram and replaced their logo with her version of the logo. That was really funny.
That was my favorite part too. Yeah, that was great. I love it. And thanks to Olivia Amato for having a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
That made my day.
So we have a review over at TCO of the new Katie Wang intervals and arms stuff.
On the row, because that was the first, like, we'd never seen one on the row before. Well, Tina, Helper B Tina took it and she loved it.
Awesome.
Said it was a lot of fun. And so I am definitely excited to check that out. And hopefully we will see a lot more of these in the future.
And coming up after this, we're going to talk about the newest artist series and we'll have some new content for you to check out.
Peloton artist collaborations.
The latest artist series features Laufey?
Sure. I actually have no idea.
I got nothing.
It could be Laufey.
Laufey?
I didn't think to like check the pronunciation.
Yeah.
But I did talk to Nikki about it because Nikki wrote the article about this artist series and she gave me some interesting feedback on it that she had never heard of this artist either, but she listened to some of the music from it and she sounded very similar to Norah Jones. So
okay.
And she was like, they could have extended this even to like some stretching or some other classes, but
Yoga.
there's only one. There's one yoga class. That's it. That's all there is. And so we were just kind of surprised that they chose to just do one.
Yeah.
But they did. And but if like that kind of like soft, like relaxing music is your jam, definitely check it out.
All I could think of was D&D character classifications, like chaotic Laufey, Laufey neutral.
Why? Why?
Because I'm a nerd. I thought we had established that.
You're right.
New content.
And before Crystal forgets again, let's go ahead and do a bingo call out number 2. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Red Lopez.
Red Lopez. I win.
No, you do not.
If you're not careful for your Mother's Day, I'll take you to IHOP. Okay, let's take a gander at the Clip Out Top 5. If you're looking for a class and you've been taking the same things over and over again and you want to check out something different, don't know where to go, that's what this is all about. So these are reader recommended, listener recommended classes. So we'll start with number 1. These are in no particular order. Your favorite Peloton ride.
Yeah, so this was a 30-minute feel-good ride with Allie Love, and it took place on 4/14 of this year. And Danny Ella, who's March Dreamer on the platform, said Allie Love's feel-good ride from 4/14/24 had so much inspiration in that short 30 minutes. And then Helper B Darcy also said that the music was amazing. So
Okay, number 2, favorite Peloton tread boot camp.
Yes, so this is a boot camp with Marcel Maurer from April 14th. It was a 30-minute tread boot camp, and Rebecca Allen said that she found a new connection with a German language instructor this week. She said this was his English language debut and that it was awesome. The music, the motivation, and the instruction, everyone should take it. So if you haven't checked Marcel off your list, that would be a good way to get to your bingo square. You're supposed to be following along.
Yes.
But if you haven't.
Number 3, your favorite Peloton recovery ride.
With our good friend Sam Yo from April 21st of 24. It's a 20-minute spring recovery ride. So this was brand new to the platform this week. There's never been one before. And helper B, Kelly, said that it was the perfect class to welcome a change in season. She's been off the bike for 3 weeks. Lots of life stuff going on. Yeah, you do, Kelly. And she randomly picked this class for a cool down, and it was so timely for her. It was all about spring cleaning, possessions, expectations, and relationships. And it ends with a Sam Yo mini meditation. That alone is worth the price of admission. And maybe that means we're going to see Sam meditations on the platform.
I mean, there's a slot opening up.
I know.
Number 4, favorite Peloton seasonal classes.
Okay, so this is from the Earth Day yoga, walks, rides, walking meditations, like the whole thing. So there were...
I thought it was going to be like, here's a yoga flow about paprika.
No.
Different kind of season?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there were 7 classes that were released for Earth Day this year. There was Earth Day Yoga Flow with Dennis. You can read the list. But the missing Missange mom used the Peloton to motivate her to get her out into nature. She said she loved the outdoor classes. It got her out of her home office and time to enjoy the sun. Gotta love that.
And then finally, number 5, your favorite almost unstackable Peloton run.
Yes.
Please explain.
Okay. So, Oliver Long said that he just did Olivia's 30-minute intervals run live on April 29th, and it was almost unstackable. He said, Olivia pushes you to achieve your best and not let yourself be contained by artificial boundaries combined with a great playlist. This was an awesome class.
Is that a flex? Is Oliver flexing? I mean, it's unstackable for you guys.
But not for me.
But I did okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to challenge Oliver that way, but if you feel the need to.
And here's a quick look at what's coming up this week at Peloton. If you're a Disney nerd.
Like us.
See, I would say the one, we should be friends.
Yes.
But there is a new Disney ride for you.
There is. And I'm pulling it up right now.
Well, we don't have time for you to stop and take a ride. I mean, it is only 15 minutes, but...
It's with Allie Love, and it is 15 minutes. And then, did you know that the Disney collection is up to 80 classes?
I did not, but I see it here in this wonderful article at theclipout.com. My first thought, I was like, a Disney class and you get one 15-minute ride after... I'm just like, they've been around for almost like 100 years.
Yeah, you'd think you could come up with more than 15
And then it was
minutes.
like, oh, there are 80 other Disney classes. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yes, I will restrain from my anger.
Yeah, you will.
Yes. So a run for the real ones.
We've talked about this before, but it is finally happening this week, Thursday, May 2nd, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Second 90-minute live run with Mariana Fernandez. It's going to be a 2010 run, and you can take it live with Mariana, but we won't be able to. Or you can take it on demand, which is probably what I'm going to have to do.
Okay. And then a weekly dose of pop culture?
Yes. So Walk and Talks with Maddie are just that. Like, it's all pop culture. He tells you all the things that you don't know that are happening this week. And he brings in even the kid speak, you know, like you learn some new terms and everything. And he does these all the time. But if you haven't taken one lately, they are back each Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern. So there is also a collection, so you can take those at any time.
And if you dig your pop culture, maybe I would recommend to you Real Spoilers.
That's all about movies. He's very well. He has like a really, really wide breadth of pop culture.
You know how we go off on tangents.
That is true.
And our tangents aren't typically about throwing up in public. So
hey, you brought that tangent up.
I know. And finally, yoga for anywhere.
Yeah, this is great. Chair yoga is popping up. There's going to be a new 15-minute chair yoga class. It's going to drop on demand this week, and it is with Aditi.
The month of May is upon us, and we have a monthly challenge, this time around meditation.
Yes. So if you take a class, you can get a badge for 10, 20, or 31 days. So presumably that's your bronze, silver, and gold.
Okay.
members. And if you take that many meditations, then you will get a fancy, fancy, dancy new badge.
Doesn't turning meditations into a competition kind of defeat the purpose of meditations?
No, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So this is to encourage you to take a meditation.
Meditate harder.
No one said you had to do it hard. You can do it as gently as you would like. Just do it.
Are we still talking about meditating?
Yes.
If you take a look at the upcoming list of classes, the upcoming class schedule.
Yes, specifically the studio classes. Like you can't just look at the list because those are only 2 weeks out.
Gotcha.
So.
But you get a little sneak peek at artist series yet to come.
Yes, you can. We have first on the list, we have Blackpink that is going to be popping up. We also have...
If people are wondering, because I didn't know what that was.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But I looked it up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, it's an all-girl K-pop band.
Yes. I actually knew that because I actually knew it because of Peloton, because they've done that before in their listening party, and like whenever they did their music fest, I can't remember what the name of the thing is called anymore, but
All for One?
That's the one.
That's what I'm here for, is to help you with the Peloton information.
Thank you. Brain injury from getting hit by a car. So
And she's like, if you're not careful, you're going to get a brain injury too.
Next up, we have the Rolling Stones.
Now, do you know who the Rolling Stones are?
No, I have no idea.
Because it's something that us older people
That's true.
like.
You are quite a bit older than I am, so that's really more up your alley.
I went to high school with Keith Richards.
What?
No, it's because I'm that old.
It's like, what? Yeah, you're not that old, but
No.
yeah, Rolling Stones. People really love the Rolling Stones. They're okay.
They are not my jam.
They're okay.
And I love classic rock.
I know. They've got some, like, I would love to see them in concert once, simply because, and not even anymore, but like back in the day, I would have loved to have seen it just because it's like such an event. Yeah. It's cultural icon, but like they don't,
They are probably the biggest classic rock act that has been touring during my lifetime that I have not seen, because I was just like, I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
But they are a big damn deal.
They're a huge deal.
It's just
Huge
not my
deal.
big damn deal.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. How about Justin Timberlake? How's he do for you?
Meh.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
None of these are really for Tom.
Yeah.
But it's okay because you wouldn't take them anyway.
That is also true. But I like Justin Timberlake.
I do too.
I like when he would host SNL. I thought he was really funny.
He's a talented guy.
Very much so.
I really appreciate his sense of humor and his like playfulness with his songs, with his like attitude. I know that there's a lot of controversy about him and Britney, and I know that, but I just like him as a person.
Yeah, and some of those stories I'm like, yeah, that's not cool.
And it's just true.
And then I'm also like, he was like 19? Like,
Yeah, but I think he kind of doubled down some things recently.
Yeah.
See, I learned that from Maddie's Walk and Talk.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Full circle.
Yes.
In case you missed it.
So we've started doing a new article every week over at theclipout.com. This and that.
Yeah.
Just some little tidbits of things that maybe don't necessitate a full article, but just keeping it on your radar.
Exactly. Not everything needs to be a full article. It's just silly. But this first one, though, I do think that I'm hoping that later we will get an opportunity to talk to Jess Malone. She is a segment producer at Peloton, and she's, of course, as a segment producer, close friends with several of the instructors.
Sure.
Well, she was featured in a Today Show this week, a story, because you might remember, if you listen to the show all the time, you might remember when we talked about the help on Apple Watches that it can like call people.
Yeah.
We talked about that a Peloton employee was actually saved by an Apple Watch. This was a year ago that this happened.
And this is the one?
This is the one.
How about that?
She was taking a class and had no concerns whatsoever, but her watch said, yeah, you do. You need to get your ass to the hospital stat. So she did. Turns out she was an AFib. And even though like she didn't have any other underlying causes, she like completely changed her diet and she has changed everything. And it's been a year since then. And she's like running a marathon this week.
Wow.
So
well, she's working at the right place if she wants to do things like that.
I know. So hopeful that we will get to talk to Jess Malone on an upcoming episode.
We have a little piece about Aditi Shah.
We do. So Aditi is at probably the most glamorous trip and wedding that I've ever seen.
This is next level.
It is next level. Like y'all thought that Ali Love's wedding was next level. No. This like blows Ali Love's out of the water. And they did it with like, I think, tremendous like, it looks real classy on top of it.
I mean, it's insane. She's at the wedding is at the pyramids.
At the
There's
pyramids.
A picture of her at the wedding. You see the pyramids and the Sphinx in the background.
In the background. And
I heard that at the wedding reception, they actually answered the riddle of the Sphinx.
did they?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. But also, let me just say that they had fireworks at this wedding in front of the pyramids. Like it's just life altering watching her stories.
So we're like, you can do that?
I know. I figured they must be really rich and they had to get special permits and they knew somonethat's what I figured.
That's beyond rich.
I know. That's like, well, we can't say what we usually say. Probably might offend some people.
But like, we can agree. That's FU money.
It is FU money.
Yeah.
It is FU money.
Yeah.
But also,
I hope to one day have go to heck money.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
I would totally take that. But I have to also just give a highlight to Aditi's beautiful, gorgeous outfits that she has had during the entire trip, because we have all at the Clip Out been watching breathlessly. Every day there's a new thing happening, and the dress that is shown on this page, like we are all referring to her as a Bond girl. Like we think that she should be the next Bond girl because she's gorgeous in this. Just fascinating. This whole thing is fabulous. So love it.
Sam Yo has a new series called Seasonal Recovery.
We talked about it earlier.
Okay,
and
does
you
that
even
fall
get
under
that.
that?
Yeah, because you get that tiny little mini meditation at the very end. That made it to our top 5 this week.
Okay, well then how about PSNY Field Trip?
We have not talked about that. DJ and music producer LP Giabi. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. Probably not. But she has, if her name sounded familiar, assuming I said it right, that's because she had a bunch of classes that have been featured this last year at the All for One Music Festival. And those classes are still there in the on-demand library. But she stopped to take photos with Alex K, DJ John Michael, Dennis, and Jess King. So maybe there's more to come.
Coming up after this, we're going to talk to Jennifer Brown. She's our member spotlight of the week, so stick around.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube, it's Jennifer Brown. Hey, Jennifer, how's it going?
Hi, Jennifer.
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. And Tom, you're going to have to come up with a new intro because it's no longer ZoomTube.
Oh, damn. That is right.
It's like Squad Tube.
Yeah, I didn't think about that we're not using Zoom anymore, because before it was Skype-a-phone.
Yeah.
And then it was ZoomTube because of the Zoom, but now we're using Squadcast, so I'll have to come up with a new one.
You are. You're going to have to come up with a whole new thing. Well, Jennifer, thank you for dealing with all of the the fun back and forth that we were all doing, trying to figure out the settings. We're still learning. But I like to always start these interviews with finding out where you originally found Peloton and how you were like, this is definitely a good fit for me.
The way I found Peloton was my cousins had gotten a Tread Plus, and they said, come on over and just check this out. It's really cool. And it was relatively new. I mean, we're talking back when Chase Tucker was, still part of the team. And I had done that class for the first time and thought, oh, this is really cool, but definitely out of my price range. So I kind of put it on the back burner at that point in time. And then it was probably 3 years later that I had gotten to a point where I was like, this is something that I would love to really get into, check out a little bit more. And honestly, still wasn't willing to pull the trigger on purchasing. And my husband ended up being the awesome human being that he is. And he went ahead and ordered it and surprised me when I was not home. I was on a trip and I came home and he said, oh, in 2 days, there will be a treadmill in the basement. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So wait, your first foray with Peloton was the treadmill, not the bike.
Right.
This is unusual.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has ever occurred.
You are a rare creature.
You are a rare creature. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. So I have tried out the bike a couple of times, but the bike is definitely, it's not something that I'm even looking at getting. I am definitely I'm a tread girl all the way.
Okay. And just to clarify, you have the tread, not the tread plus. I'm trying to figure out the timing. Okay, of when you got it.
Just the tread.
Okay. And I didn't mean it like just the tread. I meant it like I was trying to figure out, did you get it?
We're not plus shaming you.
No, I was trying to figure out like, did you get it after the, like, did you want the tread plus, or was it like the tread was just more economical, or was it like in the middle of the recall and you couldn't get it? So I was just trying to figure that out.
A little bit. It was actually a little bit of both, honestly. It was in the middle of the recall, but it wasn't. It really had nothing to do with that. I liked the fact that they came out with a lower price point because. Can I give you just a little bit of story?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
Like why this is such a big deal to me. Because I think that will help explain as to why I don't. If I'm being honest with you, I don't give a shit about the treadmill itself. It's really the trainers and the instructors, and that has been a huge part of my story. And so I had kind of mentioned that I've been on a weight loss journey, and I've lost 188 pounds, and in that it started out as just like a gradual, like I would walk outdoors, and then I joined a gym, and I would go and do different things at the gym. And then I did do a lot of spin classes. I rode bikes, but it wasn't ever like, oh my gosh, I have to have a Peloton. And then, the treadmill, I started with a really inexpensive treadmill in my basement. And then at that point I was starting to slowly get, you level up in fitness and you kind of just continue to grow in what you're doing. And especially if you stick with it and you continue to go down this path, it's kind of like, okay, well, then the next obvious thing would be to like upgrade the treadmill. And I had kind of made mention to my husband about that, about upgrading the treadmill. And then it was kind of one of those, like, I hadn't been stuck on like needing Peloton. I was kind of back and forth between it. And what ultimately made me go with it was that first interaction that I had at my cousin's with the trainers themselves, like the way they spoke and the way that they kind of like motivated you to do a little bit more, to go a little bit harder, and that was my initial thought on it. And then that's where I was just really happy with the price point, because I wasn't, like at this current moment, I would 100% buy 5 Tread Plus, but I wasn't completely sold at that point on being willing to spend that money, because it's such a huge investment. And it was like, like I said, I still was like not really fully ready to do it. And my husband was like, check, done, bought, done, it's coming. So like it for me, the fact that he made that, that purchase, it's been completely life-changing, but it all has to do not necessarily with the belt itself or the way that the mechanics of it are, or anything like that. It is all day, every day, the people that teach the classes. They are the reason that I am such a huge promoter, I guess. I'm creating advertisements left and right for Peloton, and you wouldn't believe how many people are like, I just ordered a treadmill because of you. I need to start keeping tabs on this.
That's what referral codes are for.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what referral codes are for. So first of all, huge congratulations. Like you just kind of slid out that 188-pound weight loss like it was no big deal. Like that's an entire person. That's a lot of weight to lose. Huge congrats to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you very much.
That is a jaw-dropping number.
It is. It is. So you do not have to answer this question, but I'm just curious if you did that through diet and exercise, or if you did that through medical weight loss, or if you did that through some kind of surgery, a combination of those. Like, how did that work for you?
It was a combination. I initially lost 100 pounds just through diet exercise.
Wow.
And changing absolutely everything that I had ever done in my life ever, really.
Wow.
I have always been considered obese since I was 6 years old. That was probably the first time that weight became a factor in my life. And at age 36, I was technically... in a roundabout way, I don't know how to explain it fully because I'm a unique case. I had major issues with blood sugar. I had really severe gestational diabetes when I was pregnant with my son, and have always struggled with metabolic issue. I've had high blood pressure, just a lot of health conditions that have, been reason enough for me to go, okay, this is kind of scary at age 36. I have got to get this under control because I was really worried about who was going to take care of my young son.
Sure.
I have an older daughter also, and my husband's had health issues. And so it was just one of those things where it kind of really got me saying, hey, I got to do something different. I don't want to live this way. And I had spent too many days just doing nothing. And it just got to a point where I needed to fix that. And so that first 100 pounds, I changed a lot. I stopped drinking soda. I do all the things like, I hired a dietitian to kind of teach me about food and portion sizes. Really did a lot of legwork. I've done a lot of mental work because I suffer from binge eating. A lot of things, a lot of mental work needed to be done. But then I went through about 8 months of time where I just saw no more weight loss. I was doing all of the same things. And so I thought, it took me 3 years to lose that 100 pounds. And typically, a year is a really long time. 3 years is a really, really, really long time. And I wondered if there was underlying health issues that I needed to continue to control. And so at that point, went and met with the doctor. And she has been phenomenal in this whole journey of me getting to this point. I told her everything I was doing. She said, typically I make my patients food journal for at least 4 to 6 weeks before I will even consider prescribing. And I pull my phone out and I said, I've been food journaling for 5 years. Right. So I've been doing the work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I need help in fixing that. So we did some diagnostic testing, which is, I guess I don't know if it's actually diagnostic testing. It just seems that's what it should be called. It's a breath test to determine your metabolism. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's an RMR test.
Yep.
And that was able to pinpoint a number of calories that I needed to be eating to be more precise. So that was one thing. And then with my health history and blood sugar issues, I started a GLP-1 medication called Mounjaro. So I have been using that medication for the last, September of 2022 was when I started that. So relatively new after it had been FDA approved.
Yeah. I was like, you got in early.
And so I've been on that since, and it's really made a huge difference in my weight loss progress. I was able to lose that 89 pounds in about a year. So
wow.
I constantly wonder, like, there's that whole debate on, obesity being a disease versus an actual lack of willpower. And to me, with my story and my obviously I don't have a lack of willpower. It has to be something that's, inside of me that needed fixed. And that's kind of where I am now. I've continued to work out and continue to eat, the same. I'm right now just wanting to stay where I'm at, and that's been the hardest part, honestly.
Yeah,
it's just maintaining.
I bet. Go ahead.
I'm just curious. What about the maintaining aspect do you find harder than the losing aspect?
I think because when you're losing weight, you have a goal in mind and you're constantly working towards something.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I had things in place, like I played little games with myself, and like not necessarily that I ever had like a goal, but you get wrapped up in a mindset of like, what if I got to do this by this time and this by this time?
Yeah.
And it's hard not to be that way. But I think the hardest part now is just like not having something to do, because right now I'm just, I have things to do. It's not weight related, because
Right.
I have been trying to take the focus off of, counting calories so
Sure.
much and being so exact with everything.
I would think.
I don't necessarily.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would think, and I'm not trying to tell you how to feel, but I just this could be projection on my own part. I would think that, like, I know personally with my own weight loss, I would feel like it's dangerous to like tell yourself like, oh, I'm done now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so when you get to a maintenance phase period, I would think that feels scary, and that like, but what if I'm just letting myself off the hook?
Yeah.
And it all comes
Yeah.
back.
Well, and I'm also curious. Sorry, let me pile
You're
on that
fine.
question. I'm also curious if you are still taking a GLP-1 or if they have taken you off of that. Like, I know that there are people that take like maintenance doses, and I know that it's a little bit of a different protocol. So, just curious about that as well.
Yeah. To answer Tom's question first, it's definitely scary. It's learning how, I talk about this a lot on my social media, because this is really where I'm at with things right now, is continuing to try to, help inspire others to see that there's very real possibility in taking control and doing things on your own, and being a person that can do what you say you want to do. And, it's scary for me. And I'm very honest about that in terms of, I don't want to go back to where I was. I started this whole thing at 342 pounds, and that's an astronomical number to me now, because I'm at like I think I'm at 153. So, I fluctuate here and there, and I'm right where I want to stay. I don't want to get any smaller than what I am. I just want to be healthy and strong. And that's ultimately been my goal. It's like longevity in life and being able to like live a quality of life, not look a certain way. And so it is scary. It's learning how to really trust yourself, and knowing that like you don't have to write it all down. Because while that is how you teach yourself, it's not a way to live, to live constantly worried about what it is you're like, how many calories is this? Like, and I'm not gonna say that when I eat something, I don't think that way. And that's something I'm working through right now on my own, just to create healthy habits in how I eat and how I move forward after the weight loss process, and continuing to stay kind of where I'm at, but also growing in that, in my fitness level and my like strength levels and all that. So I don't know if that answers kind of that question of like, yeah, it's terrifying, and I'm there. I'm definitely scared. But I just have to lean into the fact that I've created a lot of healthy in my life, and, push towards that, keep working towards my goals of like where I'm at now and what I'm doing, in that. And I mean, to be honest with you, I had 2 pieces of cheese pizza for lunch today. So it's not like I'm sitting here, completely like changing every single thing I've ever done. It's just learning how to be balanced, because back 5-6 years ago, I would have ate 7 pieces of pizza. There's a big difference in what I do now versus what it's not always like what I'm eating. It's really how much of it, and knowing that like I'm okay if I have pizza, and I'm okay if I do these things, because I've created a lot of other healthy things that work around it.
And you're allowed to enjoy things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think when you're in a weight loss mode, it's so easy to get focused on the restriction aspect of it, because in the short term, that's the road you're going down, that when you start to like loosen the death grip on it, that feels like, oh my God, am I getting out of control?
Yeah.
And
and people turn it into a I have to do this. This is horrible. They turn it into that negative, and that's why people fail at it, because it's not fun. They don't find a way to make it fun, and that part I'm guilty of that myself. That's how I can
Same.
speak from experience there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think people also, we're all in such a hurry when it's the weight loss mode that it's like you just want to be done. You want to get past it. You want to get to the other side. So it's like I can't have this piece of pizza today because I'm in weight loss mode, and I have to hurry up and get through it so I can be done. And that is part. I think a lot of people that struggle with food issues also struggle with black and white thinking. And I say that from somebody who I struggle with that. It's like all or nothing. There's no in between.
And, going back to the willpower aspect, like, I think the problem with the willpower as a concept in terms of food is that I think there are some people for which that is true. I think I am one of those people, but I think there are a lot of people for which that is absolutely not true. Like, I mean, Oprah Winfrey has famously struggled with her weight her entire life. And I'm like, are you going to tell me Oprah doesn't have willpower? Because I'm going to say bullshit.
Yeah, she is like a baller.
Yeah, like that woman knows how to get things done. And so, like, there is more at play for a lot of people. And I think that's also what makes that such a hard nut to crack, is that there are many different roads that get you to that point, and they're not all the same, and therefore the solutions aren't all the same.
Amen.
If in fact you see it as a problem and even want a solution.
Absolutely.
Right. And, that's the thing, too, as far as the stigma around the GLP-1 medications and the utilization of them. Crystal, to answer your question that you had asked me about whether or not I will taper off or titrate down off that medication. Right now, the plan is for me to remain on it long term because of the fact that I do have issues with type 2 diabetes and blood sugar. I need to manage that. The thing that's so frustrating to me about the GLP-1 meds is that most people sit and think, that they don't realize the correlation between obesity and type 2 diabetes, and the fact that most of the time, if you have type 2 diabetes, it's because you're obese. I mean, I know it's not every time.
Absolutely.
And I'm definitely not a medical professional, but I've done a lot of research on this because it affects me. And, we live in an acute society where we don't treat things until they become a problem versus treating them before they become a problem. And so right now, I've done all the things that I'm supposed to be doing to correct the problems. It's not quite enough to continue to maintain it fully. There were times where I would go in for fasting blood sugar numbers in my doctor's office, and they'd be like 221. And
Whoa.
A normal blood sugar is under 99. I've never had a blood sugar until now that was 99 or less. It was either 99 or more. And so now my blood sugar is 75.
Wow.
So
Congrats. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. And those are the things I focus on now too with this, and like the fact that it's doing its job, and it has, made me feel so much better. I haven't had any massive side effects from it. TMI, the worst that I've had is some constipation, which I share freely about that as well, but there's so much stigma with it. And I hope to put some factual information out there as a person who's used it for a pretty long time. It's been a great tool for me to get healthy, and that's exactly what it is for me, a tool. It's not my identity. It's not something that I want to make, like I share that I use it. I share with anybody who's interested in knowing more about it. It's been great for me, but it's helped me to be able to propel into doing the things that I want to do, like training to run a half marathon and, things that I never imagined possible in my life. So that's, and that's attributed to the weight loss, because it's not just medication. It's making sure you're eating the right things and making sure you're eating the right sizes of things, and that you're moving your body and you're hydrating and, just overall taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. I think the fact that you are talking freely about it is amazing. I know there is a lot of stigma about it, so I really appreciate you speaking freely about it. I know a lot of people have questions about it. There's a lot of people using it that don't say that they're using it, which I even get. There's so much stigma around it that I can understand not wanting to. But I think that that's awesome that you are willing to share that information and educate people. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so much of a mentality in our society of that, like, oh, you know, people need to lose weight. Oh, but that way doesn't count.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, the surgery doesn't count. The sleeve doesn't count. The GLP-1s don't count. Like, and it's just like, so then it's not really about you wanting them to be healthier. It's just you want people to do what you want them to do.
I like to say that our society as a whole likes to say, work smarter, not harder in every aspect except for weight loss.
Yeah.
If you don't work really hard at it, then it doesn't count. And
Yeah.
that's so frustrating to me because it's like, why does it matter? Like, I found the way to work smarter, not harder, I guess, you know?
Yeah. And it's not
don't
like
get
you're
me wrong, it's still damn hard.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's not. It's also not
easier.
Yeah, it's also not like you're not doing the quote unquote right things as well.
You're still eating well.
Yeah.
You're still exercising. You're doing so many things that there's a lot of people that aren't doing just in general in their lives.
Right.
And those things count. And I do think, unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of people in our society that think that, you know, there are a lot of people who are trainers who have like 0% body fat and they look amazing and they lifted some weights one time when they were 17 and it was super easy for them. And they're just like, especially to women who are older, just do the things. It's not that hard. Like, just do what I tell you to do and it'll be fine. And I work with a lot of women who are perimenopausal, who are menopausal. It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
And so I think that any tool that works for people is helpful. I really do. So I want to hear more about this half marathon that you are training for. Tell us about that.
Well, it's wild and crazy. When I first started this whole like run journey, the reason that I decided to do this, to run, is because I honestly never ever, I always was like, I can't run. That's impossible. I can't run. I was the kid that would walk with the PE teacher when you had to do, I don't know, like when I was a kid, we had to do a physical fitness test and part of that was a mile run. And we ran like a block 4 times. And I walked with the PE teacher because I already knew that I'm not doing that, you know, and every time plus 15 minutes because you're supposed to do it in 15 minutes. And there was no way that I was doing it. So I never, ever accomplished that goal in elementary, middle school, or any, you know, I ran in basketball.
Same. You are with your people.
Yes.
You are with your people right now.
So yeah. And it, you know, as I started going down this road of like working towards fitness and health, like I love to hike and I love to walk. I love to just, you know, do those activities outside, but I live in Iowa. It gets cold and it gets really cold. And so that's where I had talked to my husband. We got the El Cheapo treadmill, as I call it. It was a clearance out treadmill at Walmart for like $150. I got that and I'm like, okay, I can at least walk on this. And then it was like one day I sat there and I was like, what if I do run? You know, like what if I just give it a go? Like what if? So I cranked it up and my starting run speed was 3.6 miles per hour. Okay. That's still like, I mean, what is that? Just like a slightly over 15 minutes. If you timed it out,
4.0 is 15 minutes. So it's just under.
Yeah,
so you're
still
probably
under, quite a bit under.
So I think that's like 18 minutes a mile. No. I think that's like 16 minutes a mile. So
I decided at that point, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 1 mile and I'm just going to shuffle my way through it. And I mean, it was really hard, but I did it. I was like, okay, I'm going to just keep trying going through the motions, and it was going to be so slow. And I wasn't going to stress out about the time, and but I was just going to say, okay, once I hit the mile, I could stop running. And I mean, I looked like I was dying every single time. My face was like purple. I was sweating. I was, you know, and then finally I was like, you know what, I kept doing it. I was like, I'm going to do this every day for 30 days. Just see if I can do it. Because like I said, I had to make games out of what I was doing in order to get out of that all or nothing mindset and totally. Be like, well, if I just do something every day, that's better than doing nothing, you know? And then like I adopted that as a practice, like something every day is better than nothing. So if I just focused on one thing every day, at least I did something. And so I did that and I started to get a little bit better and then realized like, oh, I'm not, it doesn't hurt as bad anymore. Like and And I never, at that point, I didn't look into form. I didn't look into like how to breathe. I wasn't looking at any of the technical parts of it. I was just like, okay, let's just try this. And so I did that for 30 days straight. And I was like, I actually accomplished that. Like that was a huge deal for me because, you know, like I said, I'd never had run before. And I think when I can't remember exactly, like I had started documenting it through video. Like I'd have my son come downstairs or my husband and be like, hey, can you just film me for a few minutes running, you know? And they did. And remember it being like 18 minutes, and then slowly, you know, gradually I could cut down the time. And I think by the time I was done with that, I think I was right at 16, 15 minutes, whatever I ended up being. Like it was, I could see improvement. And when I saw that, it was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can keep going. And when I had that treadmill, it was an El Tipo treadmill, and I was probably 270 pounds at the time that I decided to do this. You know, like it was in the middle of me progressing through weight loss. And I heard like a snap, crackle, pop on that treadmill. I was like, oh geez, I can't be without this thing. And that was like at one of the points where I was like, I think I need to look at getting something better if I'm going to keep doing this, you know? And I had kind of thrown that idea out there to my husband, and he said, well, just do it. Because, you know, he was like, if that's what you want to do, just do it. He's always agreeing with my crazy thoughts and ideas. And I didn't. And then, of course, like I said, he ended up going ahead and surprising me with the Peloton. And I'm on an 86-week streak right now. So I'm pretty excited about that.
As you should be.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, like that progressed me into saying, okay, well, let's just keep going. And once I started on Peloton, you know, I started really with the walks because like I was like learning how that all worked, and like doing the classes, you know, how like you just do what they say. You just do what the trainers tell you to do. And I started with Kirsten Ferguson because she did the walks, and then she did some walk runs. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm walking at the same pace that I was doing that run challenge at. And now I've kind of taken a little, like, I kind of went back and forth between the walks and like toying with the idea of running again. And I did a walk run class for the first time where I was doing like the intervals basically. And it just kind of like continued to progress there. Like I organically taught myself through listening to these trainers, mainly like Kirsten and Bex and Susie, talk about form, talk about, you know, like standing up straight and arms moving as a pendulum. And like, I really just did exactly what they said and realized that like there were different things that I was picking up from that, just listening to the same things over and over and over again. Cause I share a lot of this on Instagram and TikTok, and I will have a lot of people comment and say, your form is phenomenal. I'm like, I just listen to what they tell me to do and just do it, you know? And like, I'm not definitely not perfect at it by any means, but it's like, I really focus on those little things. And then when Jess Sims will say, check back in with your form, like shake it out and then remember who you are. And it's like, okay. And when you do those things, it's like, holy shit, that works, you know, like, okay, I actually am getting this. And like, so I progressed into the running portion of it and just continuously added more and more. And like, I did it the way that you really are supposed to do it from a beginner standpoint of like how to run, and like slow, very, very slow, and just added it on as I felt more comfortable and as I could feel like my lung capacity getting better, and like, you know, practicing the breathing techniques. And like Bex will always say, you breathe, smell the flowers, blow out the candles, you know? And it's like, I was doing that. And then realizing like, okay, whenever I would get that anxious feeling of like, you know, like your chest pumping and starting to burn, I would just like slow yourself down inside, like do what they've said, like breathe the way that they say that. And then it like corrects itself, you know, like your body starts to like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. We're doing this, whether we want to. Your adrenaline kind of fades away and like you're just cruising along then. And it's like, I never in a million years thought I could ever be a person that could truly learn this practice of running and then go with it and then start to add mileage on. And yesterday was my longest run I've ever run ever. I ran 7.23 miles.
Nice.
And never in a million years. I would be the first person that would tell you, I would laugh in your face and say you're nuts if you think that I'm ever going to be running a single step in my life. And now here I'm doing this, and it's mind blowing and it's awesome. And I find myself telling people these things and like going, I'm training for a half marathon, and it's like I can't believe myself, you know, like. It's really cool. It's really cool.
When is the half marathon?
It's May. Okay, so it's on a Sunday, so it's either May 5th or May 6th. I'm awful with dates.
Okay.
I want to say May 5th, but I need to tell you guys this too. Like, April 7th, I am going to Peloton Studios.
Oh, cool.
Oh, awesome.
Have fun.
That's a whole other story too. Like that. I know I'm kind of probably taking a lot of time to share this with you guys, but it's exciting because, like I said to you earlier, you know, it's not about the treadmill equipment itself. It's about the trainers and the messages that are put out there. And I shared a video about that on my TikTok. And that video was really directed towards a class that I had taken, an intention setting Sunday that I took with Kirsten, because that's my jam. That's like my favorite thing to do in the whole wide world. Because she gives affirmations, like she sets an intention and then affirmations for those classes. I don't know if you guys ever take those or not, because I know. Okay, good. So she did that, and I created this video and I tagged Kirsten in it, and Kirsten messaged me and she says, "You pick the class that you want to come to, and you'll be in it." And I was like, okay, because I had manifested out into the world, like sometime this year, wrote on my list of things that I wanted to accomplish. I'd like to take a class at Peloton. But I had no intention of going to New York City. My husband and I were like, we're not taking a vacation this year. We're going to do some stuff around the house. You know, we're not doing this. And I had absolutely no plans ever, period, of going to New York City. Okay. And then I get this email. And then Jen Cotter, who is the social media, or the
she's over all the content. She's over all the content. She's the director of content.
So she also messaged me and she said, "We want you to come to New York." And I was like, okay, well, how can you say no to that? You know, it's
right.
like when the universe puts it in your radar, like you got to say yes. And I was like, yes. I didn't even talk to my husband. We will be there. And so I'm like, we got to make this work, because this has been such a life-changing thing for me in terms of like me just generally feeling better about who I am as a human and as a woman and as a person. And I owe it to myself, and I owe it to the people that have made me feel this way to be able to say that to them face to face. And so that in itself is a huge thing for me to actually go get to check that off my list this year. And the fact that it literally happened so wild and crazy, like, because I just shared my feelings with, 72,000 of my closest friends, and they reciprocated that and said, like, hey, we feel the same way, and we want you to know that, like, you're not alone in this. And then come to find out that they had shared this at a Peloton staff meeting. They shared my video with all the trainers, all the instructors, and then I was getting inundated with messages, and now Maddie Majakmo follows me on Instagram. And so, I mean, it's just one of those like wild things where you're just like, what? Like, and to me, it just goes to show even more of like how I could sit here and say, like, this is the real deal. Like, yeah, there's a screen between us, but like there's a relationship that's being built. And that's why I say it has nothing to do with the tread belt itself. It literally has to do with what's happening on that screen, because it means something. And I know you guys have there's a reason that you're doing this. So you've obviously had a connection to them as well, and to the, the concept of it. And it's just really an amazing thing for us to just continue to keep saying like, hey, this is a big deal if you let it be, So anyway, I'm really excited about it, in case you can't tell.
No, you should be. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, you'll have a great time. It's a lot of fun there, and everybody's great. And people who are visiting the studio, whether it's their first time or their 80th time, everybody's super welcoming. The staff is very welcoming. You'll have a great time. Yeah. You will enjoy it.
Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. And that's great that it's a month before your half marathon. So that'll work out really well.
In peak condition.
Yeah.
My only problem is I'm supposed to do like a 10-mile long run in New York City. And I'm like, I live in like the middle of Iowa, and I've been to New York once, but it was like 25 years ago, and so it's like,
Yeah, Google.
Do I attempt that?
Google the West Side Highway. That's a good place because it doesn't cross as many roads. That's nice and safe. So that's a good place to go.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. Before we let you go, let everybody know like your leaderboard name and where they can find you on all the socials.
Okay, my leaderboard name is This Iowa Mom, and you can find me also at This Iowa Mom on Instagram and TikTok.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on all the socials and the Peloton leaderboard at Clipout Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our Patreon where you help out the show. We greatly appreciate all of that. And you get ad-free episodes and bonus content, which we're going to go record right now. So thanks for all that. And until next week, keep pedaling
And running.
and rowing.
Bye.
Clip in.